Hello, fellow map makers. Welcome to another live map making session. I'm Ralph Sherman of Fantasy Software, and I want to show you a bit how to make great maps with our software. Thank you, Sue. Sound is good. Some people in the chat. Very nice to see. I was a bit worried since I announced a bit of a beginner level video session. Many of the old timers would just skip it, but it does look like most of the usual crowd is here, which is very nice to see. Hello, everybody. Yeah, as I said, after a couple fairly technical, in-depth mapping sessions over the last few weeks, I thought it was high time to do a little bit more introductory stuff again, so we're not scaring away any newcomers to the software. And I've got something again, something more recent I can point people to if they want to see a beginner's level map making session. And so I've picked one of the overland map making styles that we haven't used yet and want to show how to just make a fairly simple, not totally simple, but yeah, beginner level map with it. And as such, I encourage you to ask questions that beginners might stumble over, come across. I'm obviously fairly familiar with the software and everything, and that can make you overlook stuff that beginners might not see and might struggle with. So any questions or comments in that direction are very welcome. You can always post those questions in the chat. There's quite a lot of people there who will help out and answer those, and as far as possible, I will show how to solve certain problems on screen. And before I start, one more thing. We have a big user map atlas project going on, organized by Remy Monson, who's also done live videos here. And this big project where everybody contributes maps to a big world project is now nearing 1,000 maps overall. And to celebrate that milestone, Remy is running a competition, and we've supplied quite a few nice prizes for people who participate. So if you're interested in that, do head over to the forum or our blog. You'll find more information there. Anybody can contribute and participate. You don't need to be an expert or even a veteran map maker. You can just be a beginner, because at least some of the prizes are just given randomly. I think it's to the actual 1,000th map that gets added to the atlas, and so anybody has a chance to win something there. Okay, so I just see the first question here, and this is so let's start with our map making session. The question is whether this is a new style or an existing one. This is an existing one. It's a bit of an older one. Must have been volume 10 or 9 or something like that of the Cartographer's Annual. It's a style by T.J. Vandal, and it's basically an overland style that focuses on desert, wasteland, and such areas. I quite like it. It is a bit limited in scope, but you can quite easily add some of the styles from the same author to give it more variety. So let's see how we get to it. So you start out not with a map like this, but with a welcome screen, and perhaps you should have looked into the Essentials Guide for Map Making or the user manual that comes with C++, and that tells you how to start the map. And the starting of the map is quite obvious here up on the left, the new map button, because the first thing we need to choose is a template and a drawing style which we want to use, because Campaign Cartographer is just too huge to throw everything together and make available with the first few clicks. So I'm not saving the changes here to the map, and I then get to the new drawing wizard. And the first question basically that it asks me is what type of map do I want to draw. The base program comes mostly with the overland types of maps, but it also has some dungeons and cities styles, and then the add-ons add lots of different things in here, but we want to focus on overland maps here. And then we do have the option to pick a predefined template or decide settings myself. If you want to choose your style specifically, and with a little preview, decide settings myself is the best option, because it also allows you to set the size of the map and do a few other things that I'll show you. So I click next. And then I have the list of all the different styles. This is, if you've got a fresh install, this will be much fewer. This has all the annuals in there and different add-ons, so quite a few styles have come together over the years. And the good thing is, if you click it, you always get a nice little preview of how a map in this style would look here on the right. And from that you can decide what you want to do. And what we want to do today is a Scorching Sun map. Here you can see a section of the map I have up in the background there. And most of the maps have two different templates. One without notification, which will be in miles, which is more commonly used, I guess, in fantasy role-playing games. And the other one is metric, so for an overland map it will be in kilometers. It's not really that important which one to use, because everything in Campaign Cartographer works in drawing units, and whether it's kilometers or miles is mostly a cosmetic thing. But obviously, if you have something for your world in mind, choose the one that fits. So I choose the style, annual Scorching Sun, click next. And then we get to the size and dimensions of the map you can set. I've just seen a request for CC4 for the next version, which we are working on, bigger preview maps. So that's a good point, and it's certainly something we want to do. I'm going to do. We've already increased the map preview size at I think from CC3 to CC3 plus, but we are always lagging behind a little bit behind the larger screens. Monitors gets larger every time, pixel sizes get larger, and therefore the previews appear smaller in comparison. But this is certainly something on the list for CC4. Okay, so since we decided on the miles, on an imperial unit type map, these dimensions will refer to miles. So if you've got something in mind for the size of your map, then put those in here. I'll just, to vary the default size a little bit, I'm going to go for 1200 by 900 miles. I got an idea in mind for what I wanted to map: a large river, basically inspired by the Nile, running into a sea, and therefore this is about 1200 miles east to west is a nice good size for a big river. And though the Nile is quite a bit longer, I think, but this is going to be fine for us. Then you can do things like add map title and copyright notice here. So let's say I want to add a map title to the map. I can click on top left here, and then I do have the different things I can put in here, like the map title. Let's choose that, click it, and then click OK. And then we are gonna call the map the Endless River. Go. And then we could now put a copyright notice down on the right. Copyright by Pro Fantasy Software 2024. Then I might want a scale bar on the map. This will always be 100 miles, or I think a tenth of the larger map dimension actually. We're gonna see. I'm gonna grab, just because it's variable, we don't set the size of it here, that will be done automatically. So I'm gonna choose that. And finally, the top right, we're gonna put in a compass rose. Okay, and then I could click finish here, but I do want to change some other thing. So I'm going to click next, and here I can set the map background. So the style is set up to have a desert bitmap fill in the background, and because that's what all the symbols and features are designed for. But I want to have a sea in the background because I actually want to have a coastline, and then it might be more convenient to have the sea as the background. And here you see we do have the different bitmap styles in here with a little preview, and I'm just going to grab the medium water, and that you can see the preview of the scale bar and the compass rose here. I can also add a grid at this point, or like if I wanted a hex grid on the map or something. Let's do that just to show everything off. And here we can set the grid settings. Sorry. See, I wanted a horizontal grid, no labels on the grid. This is the size, so one hex will be 50 miles. Sounds fine. I'm going to do apply. And then I do have one more option here at the end. If I go through the new map wizard, enable multiple levels. That's for dungeons or starships or buildings where you can stack different maps and connect them automatically. But we don't need that for an overland map, so we're not going to enable that. And then just click finish. And then I'm going to go to my working folder. If I can find it, videos here, Fantasy Streams, Scorching Sun. And as you can see, if you put in a title for your map, the file name will be that name automatically with the FCW appended. FCW is the file format for Campaign Cartographer. Save, and here's our map. You can see that I do have a bit of a dark red grid here. That's the default color set in the style, which and the grid will pick that up. That's not something I want here at that point. So what I can do, first thing, I want to change the color of the grid. How do you do that? Well, Campaign Cartographer does not, like many bitmap programs, do a selection and then you get to see all the properties in some point. What you do here is you first choose the command you want to do. I want to do a change properties command here on the left, click that, and then I get to select the objects I want to pick. And here we click on the grid at some point, turns pink or magenta to show that it's selected. Press D for do it, and then I can say I want to change my color. And I want a, say, white grid. Okay, and there's my white grid on the map. But I don't want to work with the grid here at the moment. I want to freely draw. I just want to see the grid for easy distance reference at the end. So for now, I'm just gonna turn the snap of the grid off. And I'm going to hide the sheet the grid is on. Sheets are up here. That's S is for sheet. We're currently on the land sheet. I can click that. That brings the sheets and effects dialog up. And here's, you can see the grid sheet. And I can click on this little square next to it. And an H appears for hidden. Click apply or OK. And now our grid is out of the way, and we don't need to worry about it for the moment. We can show the grid again later and not worry about this. So this Another thing, the style is a little bit older and it doesn't have its sheet effects turned on, like transitions and stuff and glow effects. And so what we might want to do is turn on the sheet effects, especially here for my demo session. I want to see the sheets on effect. It's always a bit, oh, sorry. Sorry about that. It's quicker, quicker redraw with the sheet effects turned off, but in modern computers, and especially if you're not using a full huge screen, it's quite quick actually to have the sheet effects turned on, which I'm going to do here. And what you can see is that the text gets a glow outline, so you can read it a little bit better. You can go in here and move the stuff. Say I wanted to have this a bit smaller and more in the corner, because I'm not very keen on seeing the big copyright text here. So how do you go about moving something and scaling it? You choose the command first, move, scale, rotate. Click for the text. You need to click the baseline of the text. Turns purple. I previously said to execute the command because I could now also select something else to move stuff together, but I don't want that. I now want to tell Campaign Grapher to execute the command. There's multiple options, but the most common thing is either right click and then choose the do it option, or you can just shortcut that by pressing D. And that's what I've done previously. You also always get the option, the command tells you what to do here on the command line, and it says move from point, and it wants the point I'm moving from, so I'm picking my reference point, and we can also see that I'm moving the text around to the point where I wanted it, but I also want to scale it, make it smaller. And you can see in the text now, control scale. That means I hold down the control key and move the mouse up to make it larger and down to make it smaller. So then just hide the copyright text down here in the corner. Refresh will reapply all the sheet effects and everything. This is the refresh button here, or redraw button, which is always useful too if you want to apply the current changes visually to quickly hit. There we are. We've got a nice basic sea, all empty. Now we need to raise our land to create the landscape we want our river on. And for that, we do have the tools for that already open here on screen. We've got the mountains and minerals and mountains catalog loaded, which also includes the land drawing tools. There's multiple options to access these tools. This is the most obvious one. You can just click on the catalog window here and start drawing the feature, or you can use the button on the left here. These are all the same for overland maps. So you, for example, have the default landmass tool here, which will also give you the default land tool, which you can pick here, or you can right-click the default landmass tool to see all the tools that have land in the name. And see, this is the land default tool. This is one without the fractal coastline. That's a box and a smooth outline. But we just want to do the default land for now. I'm going to click that, and first command line asks me for the first point. So I'm thinking I'm going to go from the bottom left to the upper right in the direction of the river. Or actually I might go, I think that's the example map I already have. Let's do it a little bit different. Let's go top to bottom here. And I'm thinking of a delta like the Nile River has. So I'm going to just draw the shape for that to start. I'm going to start off here. And then I'm just going to do the silted land that the river has deposited in the sea. And until I get here beyond the border, and you can see the line attaches to the border if I go outside here with the map cursor, with the cursor, and that means the landmass limits itself at the map border there. I click in the corner to fix this point, go across, click beyond this border to get this point, and one more point here, click, and then right click to finish. And you can see that's the coastline I've drawn. Again, I'm going to do a refresh to show you that the map border neatly hides the edges of the landmass here, and the text we have and the compass rose are on top of that and visual. Seen a question from Andrew there, what's the box tool? The box tool is just a little different way to draw a bit of landmass. For example, it's neat for islands. You just grab the box, click 1 point, 2 points, and it's basically a box outline but with fractalized sides, so you don't get a plain rectangle. It's nice and quick to draw islands, but they can become a little bit repetitive because they have all these basics rectangular box, so I don't tend to use them that often, and especially here for the islands don't make that much sense in front of the delta. So what I do if I want to remove something I've done, again you just use Ctrl-Z for the undo command, or it's also up here on the toolbar, undo, and it's gone. Another way to draw an island is just use the same tool as for the landmass, and then just draw the shape you want to do. Here, right click always to finish, and there's my little island. Oh, sorry, I've got a fly annoying me here. And if you want to edit something here, for example, I want a little bit of a peninsula here on the coastline. We do have the edit function. You can also edit with the fractal tool. So if you want to edit the tool, you can just, as the command line tells you, press E for edit. Grab the point you want to start your edit. Draw the new bit of coastline, and then right click and click the point where you finish your edit, and there we are. And the edit tool is basically if you want to do very specific edits where you don't get any fractal points between different ones. So it's just a normal polygon tool. If you use that, E for edit, on that here you can put down every point precisely, and it doesn't add individual nodes on a fractal function between them. There we are, and there's my okay, we've got a bit of a, well, that's just the visual artifact. There's somewhere some nodes are very close together, and they will on the zoom out here create this little blue line, but you don't need to worry about this at this point. It will not appear on a large scale export, and as you can see as I zoom in here, you don't see it as here. All right, so there's ways to get rid of that, to simplify the coastline and so on, but that's not something I want to dig in here at this point, because that's getting a little bit too far. So let's go again and go for the rivers now. My main thing, I want to have a nice big delta here and a river going inland. There we go. Click the large river. Oh, again, I'm using drawing tools, and I can go on the Coast C catalog, and that has tools. Oh, actually, tools for the sea contours, which we might want to show off. I'm just going to do that first. I do want to add a little bit of a darker contour around in the deeper areas of the sea. So let's grab the contour here, and then just again draw this all the way up to the edge. Same here. There we go. And there we do have the deeper ocean shown with the darker contour. In the same catalog are the tools for the rivers. They are also accessible up here. Again, the left click will you just give the default river tool, which you also see here. and a right click will show you all the tools that have river in the name. And then actually here I want to go for the large river to start, because this is going to be my main channel. Well, it's a big river, so let's start with a large river. Let's zoom in a bit and say my main. I want to start with main channel here on the coast, and how do I match my river exactly to the coast? That's where the modifiers come in. Yeah, they are up here on the right toolbar. They are also here in the snaps, tools snaps. So for example, I want to nearest point on. I want the start on the coastline. That's the F9 shortcut, which is listed here. I can just click here, or I can, while I've got my mouse here, my command started, press F9, and then I get this little pick cursor. The square means if I have an entity underneath that, when I click, the start of my line will jump to that. And so that's what I want. So I'm going to start here, and then I'm just going to start drawing my winding river all the way up to the northern edge of the map. Right click to finish, and there's my river. It looks good, but I do want to have it even larger, so I do have a lot longer, a very large river, and I want especially the first part here to be even bigger. So again, I'm going to use my change properties tool. But how do I know how big it is at the moment? I don't have any indication here. So the thing, what we can always do in Campaign Cartographer is to extract the properties of a current entity to see what it is, what color exactly it is, how wide it is, and everything. And for that, we do have the little pipette tool here, extract properties. Click that, click the river, and then all see all the properties of the tool appear here in on the upper screen. And they say it's on the sheet water rivers. It's a dark blue color. It does have a width of 3 miles. It is on the layer water rivers. It has line style solid, and it has a fill style water dark. So we can go from here and change that. So for example, I'm gonna now go on change properties, click the entity again, press D for do it, and when I now bring up the change properties, it does have all the properties here. The thing is, if I hadn't done extract properties, this would not necessarily be the properties that the river has which appear here, but the properties which are currently selected. That's something else we are looking at in Campaign Cartographer 4, that you have better options here to see the current, definitely the properties of the entity you are editing in the change properties command. Alright, so I want to change the line width. I want to make it 5 miles wide. A really big river. It's not going to be in real life 5 miles. It's just how wide I want it to be on the map. Just a moment. Alright. And then I'm going to press OK. And you'll notice that the whole river changes. That's because the entity it's one long, smooth path entity, and the width applies to all. But I might want to have it a little bit smaller as it goes to the map border here, farther inland. How do I do that? For that, we do need to split the entity into multiple entities. So we can apply different properties to the 2 different entities. And for that, we could do here split command, select the entity we have, and here we don't need to press the D because the split only works on one entity at a time, and so it says here, always keep an eye on the command line, split entity at point, and I want to split the entity here. And now I can go in, and if I zoom in a bit here, change properties, click this here and set this back. Let's make it very, very narrow for the start, so you see the difference. There we are. And there you can see, obviously that's not ideal because we have this big jump from the 5 wide river to the 1 wide river. So what we want to do is we want to change that again. And a quick possibility to select something that you've just previously used is the P shortcut for prior. You can also right click and see this is an option here, which will just select the object you've selected previously. Default do it, and let's make that just 4 units wide. And that way we have a much smoother. And that way you could split it, if you want to have a large, very much tapering river, you could split it into several pieces and then all give those slowly decreasing width. Okay, so what I want to do now, I want to do a proper delta and add some branches here to the river. I'm going to use the wide river lines for that. These are not quite the main channel, the large river I mean. It's not quite the main channels, but almost as big as the one we drew first. So I'm going to just using the F9 on modifier here freely to connect these together. One here to here, and then we also can connect these among each other because a delta has a very meandering and changing river courses which can easily run into each other and connect. And then I'm going to do a few small river sections. Again, same method. And build up a nice little river network of a channel network with the river tools. There we go. Oh, that already looks like a nice varied delta. So what we can also do is we can add some lakes here into the area. So let's grab the smooth lake tool, just for, I think it fits the delta style better to have smooth lake shapes, and we can just draw them across the rivers. Also, if you're not directly connected ones, will certainly be connected, but with channels that are too small to show on the map. And there's the river delta done. Alright, it looks nice, except I do want a little more greenish background. Basically, a river delta is a very fertile area normally, and you'd have swamps and marshy areas. I do want to show that visually by having a dark green background around this. So how do we get there? We could take a look at our vegetation catalog. And yes, we do have some marsh and swamp areas here, which are perfect. We'll also find these in the default terrain tools. Those are the same ones as here shown in there. There's the marsh. So let's grab the marsh tool. And let's start up here on the river. And now I could just go draw along here visually, but I might want to actually follow the coastline because my marshy area goes all the way up to the sea. And for that, I do have the trace command. It's also listed here in my options for the tool. I can hit T for trace. Then I'm gonna hit the line I want to trace, my coastline here. And you should always hit the coastline there where you want to go your trace line to go along. Not here, because you don't want to go there. Instead, you want to hit it on a line where you want it to go along. So I'm going to click here. And then I'm going to choose the start point of my trace. I'm going to start tracing here. And then move the mouse to where I want to end. Click again, left click. And then I can draw the rest of my polygon till I'm back at the starting point and right click to finish. Does look like the swamp covers up all my rivers, but that's just because we don't have a full redraw at the end of the command. So I'm just going to redraw, and there you can see that we do have the swamp here. The other thing I'm a bit worried about is that it's very dark and kind of hides my water area. I might want this a little bit lighter. So what can I do about that? I can give it a transparency. And transparencies are handled via sheets. And for that I do need to know where my swamp, what sheet my swamp is. And again, for that I'm going to use the extract properties command. Click the edge of my swamp. And I can see it's on the land features sheet. So I can click that. Select it here, and you can see it has an edge fade effect. Now you could set the transparency within the edge fade effect also, but I'm just going to show you because that's more intuitive. Here I want to add a transparency effect, so I'm just going to go add, and there's the list of all the different effects we can add. I'm going to grab the transparency and say how opaque should that be. I want to have it fairly opaque, just a little more transparent than it currently is. So I'm going to set a 75% opacity. Okay. And there we are. And you see it blends more into the brownish background and at the same time makes the water more obvious. All right. So that's that, and now I also want to add a bit of farmland area around the river here, and I can do that with the same kind of terrain tool. I'm just going to grab it from the catalog here at this point, and I'm just going to draw a fertile area around the river here. And there we've got the greenish farmland background along the river. All right, so for that I am done with my terrain fills for the moment here. So what I wanted next, now I want to add some mountains and hills along framing the river valley basically. And there I'm gonna go into the placing symbols. So I'm gonna click the minerals and mountains catalog. And you can now see these are the mountains included in the style. So we've got normal mountains and smaller mountains, and you might think it's just a very few of them, but then you've got to look at the little plus here in the top left of the symbol, and that means it is a collection of symbols. If I click that, plus the collection expands, and I get quite a few more. I can right-click the catalog window here to show it all across on the screen, and then I can go in options and expand all collections, so I can see all the symbols in here, and you'll see there's quite a few more mountains and foothills and individual hills. So the advantage of putting them together in collections is first space. You see what kinds of different types of symbols are in there, but also collections are set up to randomize symbols. So if I click a mountain here, and then I can place it on the map. Let's start up here. The next symbol I get is a different one, or might be a different one from the collection, because Campaign Cartographer randomly picks one from the set. And that makes it nice and easy to draw a natural looking mountain range without having to select a different symbol each time. Go, that's my mountain range, and as you can see, the text is nicely above the range here. Let's grab some foothills, place them here in front of the mountains. And you might think, yeah, very nicely overlap, but you have to be careful to place them all correctly. What happens if I just place a foothill here and overlap the symbols incorrectly? Or put one here, and you can see it's not very obvious on this one, but you can just, for example, here you can see that they overlap a bit awkwardly there at that point. For that, we do have a automatic sorting function. Actually, what I also wanted to add is some smaller mountains here. And as you can see, I'm overlapping these pretty wildly without regard which symbol goes on top and know how they fit together, because I can at a later point go into the symbols menu, go to sort symbols and map, and select everything, select all, or you can do that by just hitting A for the shortcut. I've got all the maps selected now, but the command will only sort the symbols, so no worries there. Then just press D for do it, and Command Grapher neatly sorts all the symbols in their correct position, so they fit together nicely. So that's mountains on that side. I'm going to go to the other side, and I do want, because I have such a nice volcanic symbol, I want to add one here. Zoom in, and want to add some non-active cones around that, but I'm thinking, yeah, you see it's the same symbol just without the cloud in here. How can I vary that a little bit? Well, I can make it smaller. I can, for example, hold on, you've got all the options down here again, hold down Control, move down the mouse and make it a bit smaller. You can also right click, and that shows me the scale here. We're at 0.89 at the moment, so let's say a bit smaller. I can also type in my scale 0.85 on there, and I can also do things like right click and mirror on the symbol. Then it will just appear a little bit different because it's shown mirrored. And if I want to go back to my default scale, I can go set normal, and you can see my default scale here is 1.2. That's because my map is 1200 miles across, and symbols are usually scaled in Command Grapher to fit maps with 1000 dimension on the larger side. There we go. And then I'm going to add a few normal or smaller mountains around this. Go. If you've got the stuff like if by a random chance the same symbol appears as the first one, you can also just hit Tab to get different symbols. This actually cycles through the collection until you find one that you want. Go. Grab the foothills again. Go, and there's my little group of mountains there. Then just going to grab some hills and scatter these more around the map. There we go. Looking good on this side, a few more on this side here. And there we go. That's my mountains in the map. And then we can go to our next thing. I might want to do some tributary rivers here. I could draw rivers running from the mountains down into the valley here, but then I'm thinking of the Nile, which runs for such a long way through the desert without any tributaries at all. So I'm thinking this is too dry here. All the water comes from up north, where the river is fed, but all the mountains here have hardly any rain, no runoff, so nothing comes down from the mountains here. That fits the desert theme very nicely. And thinking desert, I do want to show a bit more even drier desert area farther away from the river. So I'm going to go to my natural features, and they've got some dark desert and light desert drawing tools here. And I'm just going to grab one of these, and I can now just outline the area where I want my desert to be. Again, touch it to the map border. Right click to finish, and that's also same here. I'm just directly behind the mountain range, and as you can see, if I refresh the map, all that is neatly behind the mountains. That's because all the terrain tools are organized on sheets below the symbols, and so you don't need to worry about the drawing order there. And then perhaps here I'm going to grab a little bit of a darker area, outline this here. Refresh, and then I've got a darker area here. Do the same here, just to show off a little bit the hills. There we are. And there's good way for my landscape. I do want to make use of some of these nice spiky bits here, so I'm gonna grab some of these spikes here and make a bit of a fantastic area. So let's build something that's got big ones here. Yeah. Something like a huge moor or something coming out of the sand. Let's grab one of the chasm here, and we might actually, I think I'm going to want to remove these hills here now in the way a little bit, so I can just use the erase tool, click. For symbols, you always need to click the edge of the symbols to select them, and press D for do it, refresh, and then I'm going to grab my chasm here, and I'm going to make this a bit larger, not too large, or the line width will become too divergent from the other symbols. There we are. Now I'm going to sort my symbols again. Press D for do it, and there's my chasm ringed by huge spikes in the desert. Whatever that is, some petrified huge ancient monster or something. Could be something interesting for a story. So next up, since I've got my landscape down now, I do want to create a bit of civilization. And so I'm going to load up my structures catalog and see what I've got there. Come on. Still in the zoom. If something seems to be stuck there for a second, you might be in another command which did not finish or something. Hit escape. That will normally interrupt and end any commands you might be in at the moment. So that's what I did there. And here we do have our city symbols. So I'm imagining something, a large sprawling city sitting on the river, both sides of the river, just there where the river goes from the footer valley into the marshy delta area. And for that I'm going to grab the city symbols here. See, clicking on that structure catalog button here changes things like the layer and the color to to certain defaults that we assume for the structures layer. So any symbol you're going to take here is going to place on the structures layer. So I'm going to grab the city symbol here and do that. And I could just place this down and oh, actually I'm a bit too large here because I scaled my symbols previously from my chasm here. So I'm gonna undo that. Gonna grab my city again, right click and set it back to normal. And now I've got my default city size. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's all nice and good, but it doesn't really give an impression of a nice, huge, sprawling metropolis or anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to combine some of these symbols. So I'm just going to go and grab individual ones and just connect them. They all fit together very nicely. Then grab a tower here, castle symbol, and then a few more here. Might even grab this, the wall symbol, though might perhaps not look quite so good. Oh, we can actually do it like this, I guess. No, I don't like the wall symbol here on this, so I'm just gonna undo that. And this is what we do have, a nice bridge symbol which I can take and place here. So they have a big amazing bridge crossing the river. And that's my big central city here for the map. If I wanted to really group this together, and so I've do this as one symbol, I would first do the sorting symbol thing. Sort symbols the map, all of it. So these symbols overlap nicely. You can see the bridge is now nicely behind these. And I want to make these into one group of objects which I can handle together. For that we do have the group command. Tools, groups, group. Now I'm just going to grab all this here. But this means I've grabbed all the symbols. I used basically a selection window to draw across this, but I've also grabbed the river and the two terrain backgrounds. So what I can do is hold down Control and click these objects here and unselect them. There we are. Press D for do it. And now these should be... Aha! Something has changed here, obviously. What has changed? Well, I was on the current sheet land features, and grouping puts the group on the currently selected sheet. So that's why they are on that, and that has the transparency effect, and that's why the symbols are fading out here like that. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to move these to their original sheet again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right-click the Sheets and Effects button, move to sheet, select my group, and just clicking one of the symbols now selects the whole thing because it's a whole group of objects. Press D for do it, which brings up the sheets, and these should go on the symbols sheet. There we are, and there's the transparency is gone again. Perfect. All right, we are running close to the end of the session, so let's just do a couple things here. Let's grab a wall here, or let's do a town with a wall here. Just grab the town symbol, put the wall across, and another fortified city here at the edge of the coast. You might want to put in a village on the island, perhaps a tower here somewhere on a hill. And now I want to connect these with roads. So for that we do have the road tools here. Again, drawing tools, you'll also find them on the default road button. By right clicking you get all the different options. So I'm going to grab the default road. I can start here in the center and then just draw my road here to the city. I'm going to make it separate thing, so I'm going to finish it here, and then start a new one with the F5 modifier, which puts the point on the end point of the entity I select. So I want to start at the end point of the road. So I started my command, F5, click the road, and I'm starting again from the end point. The advantage is to have this in separate objects right from the start, is I can measure the distance of each of these separately, and I've got to, of course, just draw it with this one and then use the split command again, like I did with the river. There we are. Then I do need to connect this town here. Now I'm just gonna go and do it in one take, and then I'm gonna use the split command again. Select my road, the point I want to split, and there we are. And there's my road running along the coasts, going around the delta through our big metropolis, and then back to the other side, the other side of the map. Alright, so much for that. I would normally add more stuff here, more settlements, but actually what I should do is connect the tower here. So I'm going to do just a path. And then just run it to the main road, press F9 for the N modifier, and 1 modifier. And there we've got a much smaller path shown, going to the tower out there in the wilderness. Okay, now what I certainly want is some labels. So I'm going to go and grab a color. Now for text, we don't have a drawing tool set up, so I do need to set my properties first. What the drawing tools do, if I take a road here, it will set the layer, the color, the width, and everything to the line style. You can see a path, LS is for line style, to what we need. For text, we need to set that up ourselves. So we're gonna, especially if we want to use the non-standard text sheet. Normally text goes automatically on the text sheet, but I do want to use the text outlined. I want an outline on my text, and you see that has a special sheet effect here. So I'm going to click that. I want my text to be black, and I want it on the layer text levels. Fill style is not applied to text, so we don't need to worry about that. And then we're gonna type in let's do the Arabic name for Cairo. That's Al Kahira. That's the victorious, I think, if I remember my Arabic correctly, or my history of Egypt. And then we can align the text, say T for the top of the text, left for the left side here, so I can put the text down here. So now I'm not too fond on how this text looks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change properties again, select my text, press D for do it, and want to pick text properties. And I've got the Aladdin font in here for something Arabic looking. The stretch is quite high. That's why it did look a bit weird. So let's make that 1.2 just to see how this looks. Okay, and there we are. And that looks much better. And there's our text on the sheet. And you see it's nicely outlined in the brighter color, which makes it quite readable, and that's done through the sheet effect outer glow here. If I put it just on the text sheet, there's no sheet effect there, so you won't get that. Outline. Alright, so I'm almost done with our hour of mapping here. One more thing I wanted to do, I wanted to take a look at our scale bar. It is a bit small perhaps. I could of course scale it up, but then the miles wouldn't be correct because this is scaled correctly. If I take a look here, I can go into info distance and choose 2 points, and it showed me the actual distance in the map, and my clicks weren't precise, but so it's 100 miles across. So I do want a different scale bar in here, so I'm just going to erase this. And the scale bar symbol is defined within the template. And for that, you can click on this green button up here, and that will show you all the symbols within the map that are already defined within the map. And there's the scale bar again. And you can click that. And this is 100 miles in by default. So if I just place it, it's size 1.2, it will be 120 miles. But I can also do scale 2. Click here and type in 200. And now I've got 200 miles shown on my scale bar here. Info, distance from this point to this point. And we are at 200 miles. That is a bit more obvious and a bit nicer size here on the map. I can also want to move my text a bit more up into the top left corner. So I'm going to do that. And finally, let's show our grid again. See our hex grid. And this is a bit strong for our tastes, for my taste here. I find it a bit too glaring, too obvious. Might be good for printing, of course, but for display here, I'm going to have a look at the grid sheet, and it doesn't have any sheet effects. So I'm just going to add a transparency again, 50% opacity, and that way my white grid is directly much less obvious. And there we are. And this is our little map we created with from scratch, with a lot of explanation and a lot of tools and a little bit of editing. And yeah, good to add more details or even print it at this point and use it in our game. So I hope you like that, and I hope even if this was very basic stuff in Campaign Cartographer, it did give you an idea what else can be done, and there are lots of different functions available in the drawing software. All right, thank you very much for watching. Thanks for commenting, talking and chatting, and just being great fans of our software. If you liked the video, do give us a like or a subscribe on YouTube. That's always very welcome. And otherwise, hope to see you on the forum or the Facebook group. All the best. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.